This is a tutorial on using the software that I made using Excel to simplify my pricing for cabinet installs. This is been set up to where I have various elevations that are brought up on the plans, where each room will most likely have a kitchen elevation of more than one wall. That's why there are more than one columns. That way I can enter the information on each elevation and keep track of my information that I have, so that if there's one wall on a kitchen, I will put all that information for that one elevation on that one wall, and there will be another elevation of a wall, same kitchen, and that information would go there. The descriptions on the left hand side over here are my terminology for standard boxes, base cabinets, where it has a simple pull-out drawer and a set of doors, and that's it. Drawer bases, as you can see, I have at $70, slightly more than the regular boxes, because typically all the drawer bases need to be removed of their drawers, and a lot of times the drawer bases need to have their drawer faces adjusted, that the gaps are not proper. The sink boxes, in other words, one that needs to be drilled where a kitchen sink is going. Sometimes there's outlets there. There's definitely water lines there in many cases, so that yet still is a bit more of a process to go with. Pantry boxes, very tall, usually with wall deflections and issues, and also electrics in many times has to go in pantries. That's that case there. Lazy Susans also sometimes can be very difficult to install because they have to be dead level in two separate planes. A little different than other cabinets, that because this is usually the first cabinet that's set, and takes the most time to get that one accurate, so each run of cabinets going to the left and to the right of it are accurate and can run level and true for the sake of the countertops. The tall wall cabinets I have labeled as 33 inches and taller. Those typically take a step bench, so that means it has to be that preparation done, and getting up and down on a cabinet, along with the tweaking of the doors, reaching those top hinges to adjust those. That all takes extra time compared to the regular boxes and 30-inch tall wall cabinets, where it can be easily reached from the floor. And the dishwasher panels that require some extra blocking to keep it steady. And each thing has its own separate issues, like crown that meets the ceiling. I scribe my crown very, very tight, and it's very time consuming. So a simple light rail or crown mounted to the top where it's not touching the ceiling and I can reach over top. It's a very simple process, very easy to do. It is ladder work, so there is some time involved. Crown that meets the ceiling, again, very much more involved, and it takes much more time, therefore the cost is allotted for that. Fillers for the cabinets. The tall fillers are obviously actually more than twice the height of a simple wall filler at a base cabinet or even a regular wall cabinet. Those cost 2 times the amount. And there's toe kicks, flush toe kicks and regular toe kicks. Regular toe kicks are inset, very simple to set, and this includes an 8-foot piece with a scribe to the floor if it needs it. And a flush toe kick is something that's scribed into the floor but brought out flush with the cabinet, where there's no grace at all, to make it fit nice, to get that 1/8 of an inch gap perfect and tight to the floor, is a very, very time consuming thing. The pulls and the knobs, 2-hole pull, obviously it's a little bit more than a single knob. Hourly for installation. These are, just like all of the rest, are modifiable. You can change the amounts that you want right here, but these are not part of the formula. These numbers here are for reference as to what the formula really means, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But if you do have hourly for installation cost, like if you have to put some blocking in the corner to hold the countertop where a sink is, that goes back into a corner. Hourly for installation, you can put in blocking. just to keep track of that. And if that takes you a half of an hour, that would take 0.5. Enter that, and that would get that accommodated. Over here, I'm going to bring up my Adobe. I'm going to shrink this down, and I have a form ready to go. And this is what I typically do. Here's the precise thing. Okay, that's the plan. Now these are the elevations. This kitchen here has 3 different elevations for the kitchen. This is one elevation with the windows, another elevation with the, well, there's 2 sets of windows, and there's the elevation for that set of windows where the range is, and that elevation where the dishwasher is. And there's also another elevation where the oven is as well, the reefer too. And if you look at there's also island. There's an elevation for one side of the island and an elevation for the other side of the island. So all these headers are made for each page of every elevation. Now to go back and fill them out, it should be very simple, very straightforward. I use the editing program to change my info. If I want to input text, I go up to the T where it says add text. I create my box if I need to, and I'll say I'll have two drawer bases. Hit enter. That'll drop the line down. 2 boxes. Hit enter. And go and list everything down that I have. These are just examples. I already have it down here, but I just wanted to show you how I come up with that. So with that, you can close that out now and save it. It'll prompt you to save it when you're done. But this I already have filled out, and I have, in this case, in this first elevation, I want to make sure this is the first page. Nope, it's not the first page. Now it's that plan. This is the first page. So this first page, I have 8 regular boxes. I type in 8. Oops, nope. First box, I type in 8. The second one is a corner box, otherwise known as a Lazy Susan. I have 1 of those. I have 4 cabinet panels. 4 cabinet panels. They're typically 3/4 of an inch thick, as you see right there, and they flank either side of a given cabinet or cabinets. And I got 4 of them here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the side panel for the cabinets, got to make sure that you get these are cells. You got to make sure you get the cell active. You've seen how that one was still off to the side, and now I'm going to type in a 4, and you can see how the 4 starts off on the side because it hasn't been made final yet by moving it on to another cell, and you can see how it changes its position. Back at the list that it was already made, 3 toe kicks. 3 toe kicks is because I have a toe kick there, which requires a cut, another toe kick there, which requires possibly 2 more cuts, and then the Lazy Susan here in the corners. It's actually a 45-degree angle, more difficult than usual, and that's the 3rd piece that I consider a toe kick. Even though it's figured for 8 foot, that's the length that toe kicks come in, and as long as it's being cut, that's a toe kick there. That's my other modifier. And so with that, it would be a regular toe kick, and I have 3. Again, that's not the right, this now is active, and I got to make sure it's active on this one. So we got that there, and that has that one done. Okay, now on the next page, I have this one. I have 5 boxes. This is the second elevation of the kitchen drawings that were issued to me for this job. Okay, I have 5 regular boxes here. I have 3 cabinet panels. Go down to the cabinet panels and enter 3. 14 knobs. And 14 knobs is right here. I probably didn't enter the knobs on the other side, but this is just a tutorial. You can catch up on your own mistakes when you get there. And 2 toe kicks. All right, now the last elevation for the pantry. before I get to the island boxes. But you see how this is supposed to go. You just simply type in the number of the things that you have brought up on your PDF, and you can also just simply print out the PDF and hand write it in and enter your information that way. So with that, you can, just to let you know, if you only have 2 elevations on a given room, you can simply go up to the top bar here and make sure it's all the way to where the letters are at, and you can left click on it to highlight that whole column. Then you right click on it to delete the whole column. You'll see the kitchen one disappeared. If there are no kitchen islands or only one elevation, again, you go over at the top bar, the A, B, C, and D, and so on, and you highlight that, and then right click that and delete that one if you only have one elevation. Same thing with the pantries if you don't have pantries. Now, if you don't have a laundry room, and in the course of sequencing in your display or in your PDF that the laundry is not the next one, you can change the name of laundry to pantry. Again, this is just an example. I didn't spell it right, but you get the idea. So with that, now, again, I had mentioned before that these numbers over here, the $60, the $70, these are what I work for in my area of Washington State. Now, if you have an area where the labor rate is not the same, these can be changed, but it is not done here. You need to go all the way to the far end. You can see where I've already listed a number of cabinets. I have 13 cabinets on this row, and at $60 a piece, I will make $780 by installing those 6 cabinets. The whole job that I have figured so far would be $1,500. It adds up everything as you go, as you enter the information. But if you find that $60 is too much of a labor rate for your area, or it needs to be more, click on that cell and you'll see that's the 60 here that you need to modify. And say if you're in an area where they don't demand, where you can't command that kind of pricing, you can do 50 per box, and that's where you have to change that. And you'll see that as soon as you move the box, that changes that rate of pay for that install of those 13 boxes. But to keep it so you can keep track of everything, make sure you change that number also. And it's like this everywhere. Each box each cell here adjacent to its line at 70 has that number that you modify. Again, if the drawer boxes, the drawer bases, you think that's too much, change that number to what you think it is. It can be even 65. And you should, for the sake of keeping track of it, change this to 65 as well. So that's how you can modify all of these here. Now, for your hourly for installation, I already showed you a little bit on that. This is set for $100 an hour. Again, this is what I find that I need to get by, to put money in the savings account, to have a little bit left at the end of the day, so I'm not just paying bills and going broke. So again, if you find that that's too much and you think that you can do it for $90 an hour, just type that in and that will automatically change that amount to $45 for the half of an hour that I entered to do that blocking on the end. If you have other things that, like, you have a cabinet that has to have a base built, then build base. And if you think that's going to take 1 hour to do, type in 1 hour. And I usually do that under the heading that I need for the given space. Typically it's in an island, so I'll put it on that particular one. I let it go down there because, again, this is just for an example. So as you can see here as well, I actually have some basic instructions here to where it'll hopefully remind you. to where it's going to be handy for you to do what you need to in order to make your changes. So anyway, this will hopefully get you on your way. I think I've tackled everything. So we'll see how this goes, and we'll take it from there. Hopefully you use the software to your advantage. I find that this has really been good for me, and I hope that you'll find that it's good for you also. It saved me a lot of time. I thank you for your patience and listening to my ramblings, so I hope you use it in good health. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.